What is up, guys? Tiger Talk is back. Gonna have to scrap the whole Tuesday thing and move it to Fridays because I am taking summer school and working, so Tuesdays are out. Don't have class on Fridays. It's gonna work better. Sorry, Donvi. I do not want to have it on the same day as you because, but it is what it is. It's the only day I can do it. So let's get into it. Going to talk a little bit about the draft, and today's main discussion going to be about my expectations for Clemson. I'll go game by game with this season, tell you what I think. One of the questions was on my last video, what do I think Clemson's record's going to be? I'll show you, I'll tell you what I expect in this video. So let's jump into the draft first. As far as Clemson is concerned, mainly 6 players drafted, some more signed as free agents later on, including Ben Boulware to the Panthers. So, what did I say last time? Teams would be a fool not to take Deshaun Watson first, and the Bears lost the draft in epic fashion. I actually enjoyed that. Deshaun Watson ended up where he needs to be. He could have been in Chicago. I wouldn't have hated that. I don't hate the Bears or anything. Like, I hate the Browns just because, anybody who's managed that bad that amount of time, good Lord. Plus, they're in Ohio, so, But Deshaun Watson to the Texans after the Bears move up to take Mitch, who has zero. I mean, I heard these pros saying he was more pro ready. When you've only started one season in college and rode the bench a lot, I don't think you're more pro ready than somebody who's been in the biggest stage on college football 2 years in a row and dominated the best defense. Mitch didn't play any great defenses. He didn't play any great defenses last year. And Patrick Mahomes, I mean, yeah, he's a good player and he's got the intangibles there, but Lord, he didn't play anybody. He doesn't have the experience. Okay? You don't know. You got a big question mark when you look at him. You can look at his footwork, you can look at his arm strength. You don't know what he's going to be like under pressure because he's never really been under pressure. I mean, that was interesting. It was interesting. Mike Williams, the number one Clemson player drafted, that was kind of expected. I knew he had a good chance to go ahead of Deshaun. Mike Williams is going to be an elite receiver in the NFL. He's going to keep that wide receiver U name going for Clemson. So I was very happy for Mike. It's going to be a fun year to watch Clemson players in the NFL as always, but even more so this year. So just cannot wait for that. Obviously, college football a little more important, but I love watching Tigers and the pros too. So on to Clemson football. A lot of question marks on Clemson. After losing quarterbacks, we had 2010, we had 2014. 2014 losing Taj. We had great defenses those 2 years, but completely, for the most part, inept offenses. Deshaun came in some of 2014 when he was healthy. He, for the most part, dominated. Should have beat Florida State in Tallahassee, but that fumble late in the game lost that game. But this year, I think we have more weapons at quarterback than we had any of those years. We have so many options. We have Hunter Johnson, who I think will have a good shot of starting. Tucker Israel, all these guys who have good chances of starting. And honestly, I don't know. We know who the favorite is, but I don't know who will start because a lot can happen between them. But let's do this. Let's do a game by game breakdown. As of right now, what I think each game will go like, what I think the final record will be. Once I actually get to the schedule, I have most of it memorized, but just want to make sure I don't get any of them wrong. So we start off with Kent State, who, MAC team, struggled with Troy last year, but Troy was a good team. I mean, there was no reason for us to struggle with them, but they were a good team. I think having Kent State first is going to be a great opportunity for the Tigers to really work out some kinks. I expect to see at least 3 quarterbacks play this game, especially if we can get up pretty big early in the second half. I expect to see every quarterback on the roster play. But we need to have one starter for the Auburn game the next week. So I think we'll beat Kent State by 20 or 30 points. But the Auburn comes in. Auburn has a good defense. Auburn will be there's a Tiger again. Auburn will be a good solid team. I think they'll probably be another 8-4 type team this year. Um, that I just don't see them getting any higher than that. SEC is probably not going to be much improved from the last couple of years. It's going to be Alabama and everybody else. Um, Auburn's going to come in and they're going to give us a game. I think that our defense, which by the way, this is going to be the best Clemson defense in Clemson football history. And we had some good defenses the last few years. This is going to be the best. And I think we have enough offensive power with the likes of Deion Kane, Amari Rogers coming in. You know, these highly recruited offensive players coming in. I think that we're going to see Tavian Feaster really have a breakout year this year, as well as the other running backs we got back there. The offense has enough firepower because with this defense, I mean, you don't have to score 40, maybe not even 30 points a game to be winning with this defense. The main key for this defense is going to be how long the offense can stay on the field. If the offense is just going 3 and out every time, that's when it could start to struggle. But I think we have enough firepower on the offense to not have to worry about that. I think Auburn will be a narrow victory for Clemson. It's going to be a game of growing pains for the Tigers, but I think we're going to find a way to win. It's probably going to be a night game in the Valley between two top 15 teams. And you know, the Valley is going to be a very tough place for Auburn to come win. We won pretty comfortably last time they came in here when they were the defending national champions. Now we're defending national champions, but I think we're gonna have this one. After that is when it gets really tough. It's gonna be even tougher the next week at Louisville, with Lamar Jackson still back there. Louisville not really too much of anything outside of Lamar Jackson. They're solid, but they're not great. Lamar was the most sacked quarterback in the country last year. Pray for Lamar when Clemson's defense comes in there. Pray for Lamar. Lord, their defense better play lights out, or Lamar is going to be on his tail all day. I think Clemson wins this game. Every game against Louisville since they came in the conference has been close. This one's not going to be any exception. Clemson wins on the last possession for the third straight year against make that fourth straight year against Louisville. Clemson will win on the last possession. Move to 3 and oh Lord, God, I just lost my schedule. So hold on a second. I believe either Boston College or Georgia Tech is after that, but I am not sure. So there we go. I've got to get a better link. Yep, Boston College is next. Boston College. They lost by 50 to Clemson at home last year, so it's in the Valley. It's going to be an easy, cheesy blowout for Clemson. Then it gets tough again as we travel to Blacksburg. This is one of my toss-up games, along with Louisville. Virginia Tech is going to be even better this year than they were last year. I think Virginia Tech is a 10-2 to 11-1 type team this year, possibly even undefeated, going into the ACC championship if they can escape against us. Even if they lose to us, I don't know if they'll lose again. So it's going to be a great game in Blacksburg. Last time we went up there against a top 10 Virginia Tech team, we ended up dominating in the rain, absolutely dominating. So I know we've won 4 straight, I think, against Virginia Tech, so I know they have some revenge on their mind. Toss-up game, I mean, I'm going to call it a win just because I think our defense they don't have the offensive firepower yet to outscore us. Once again, this will depend on how if our quarterback play ends up being horrible, things could go horribly wrong. But I mean, with the depth we have and the talent, these guys were all highly recruited quarterbacks coming out of high school. So it's not like we have a bunch of mediocre 2 and 3 stars. So I'll call that a win for now. Wake Forest at home, win at Syracuse, win by 20 or 30. Georgia Tech comes to the Valley. We broke the curse in Atlanta last year. We've dominated Georgia Tech at home. it's not going to be any different this year. We Brent Venables has decimated the triple option the last few years. Decimated. That's not going to change this year. Unless Paul changes it up and decides to leave the triple option, Brent Venables will always dominate. Always dominate Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech team. Uh, this is where another toss-up game. I have three toss-up games: Louisville, Virginia Tech, and NC State, all on the road. NC State comes in, great defense. They have kept it close with Clemson the last few years. It's been very competitive games the last 2 years. 2014, Deshaun Watson led team beat them 41 to nothing. But the last two Deshaun Watson led teams, it was close. Shootout in Raleigh a couple years ago, and then of course the overtime game last year, which we probably should have lost. NC State, this is the trap game of the year, and I am going to go ahead and call this one a loss. It's a toss-up, but I'll go ahead and call it a loss. I think that it's going to be the Pittsburgh, and once again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we kill NC State. I think this might be the Pittsburgh game of last year, the game that nobody was worried too much about, but it happens. NC State will probably have about 3 losses then, but it is what it is. And then after that game, Florida State travels to the Valley. Clemson coming off of a loss, fired up, ready to go. Florida State probably will be a top 10 team. They'll probably have a loss. I think they'll lose to Alabama. So I think they will have a loss coming into that game. I don't know if they play Louisville before or after that. I assume before, most likely before. So that could be a loss for the Noles too. Clemson is going to win the Atlantic Division again this year, beating Florida State. Then Citadel, easy win in Columbia against South Carolina. Probably a 20-point win. I don't think it'll be anything like it was last year, 56-7, because South Carolina is in their never again stage. So I think they'll compete a little better, end up still losing by like 20, probably try to start a fight or two. So I think that's going to be the record for Clemson this year. I think 11-1 is going to be the regular season record. We will not lose more than 2 games in the regular season unless something tragic happens. It's just not going to happen. The Tigers will be in the ACC championship, I think, against Virginia Tech. Win there puts us in our 3rd straight college football playoff. I don't know if we have the firepower on offense to win a national championship this year. Like I said, that's all still. We're still going to have to see. Trevor Lawrence coming in next year, the highest rated quarterback out of high school in years. We'll see if he can be the next big quarterback or if one of the quarterbacks we have this year will roll into the next year. Still with the momentum, still with the starting job. It's going to be an interesting couple years. Very interesting year for Clemson. But, we've recruited on an elite level. We have a lot of depth, and we should be fine to compete for another college football playoff bid. So that's all I got for today. We'll see what next week's topic is. Probably going to be Clemson baseball related. We'll see what happens. Go Tigers.